It's only been 1 day since the release of Men in Black International, and the Rotten Tomato score on this movie is a paltry 26%. In our real take, we're going to let you know if that is justified.
Men in Black International is directed by F. Gary Gray, who directed the excellent Straight Outta Compton and some lesser great films. This entry stars Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Emma Thompson, Liam Neeson, and the voice talents of Kumail Nanjiani.
With this installment of Men in Black, we basically have a beat-for-beat version of the first one as far as maybe like the first act.
Yeah,
but instead,
maybe like the entire movie.
Yeah. Well, but instead this time you have Tessa Thompson's protagonist actually finding Men in Black instead of Men in Black finding her.
That's right. As in the first Men in Black film, you know, Will Smith was sort of recruited. In this movie, events lead up to her finding the Men in Black headquarters, right?
Right, and I thought it was, I mean, I liked her character, but I thought that whole process was way too fast, and so many things happened right for her throughout the movie.
And way too easy for her to accomplish.
Yeah, it was like, boom, 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 let's get her in.
Oh,
and
you are qualified for this job just because you are Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, and we saw some statistics on a screen, literally like 3 segments of a screen, and boom, accepted.
Lenny, this movie was awful. I'm sorry. That's the way that I feel about it. I did not like this movie at all. I was utterly bored watching this movie. I mean, it cannot get more predictable than this, especially like how you said it's a beat by beat repetition of the first film. The only difference is now you have a female, you know, a strong female lead, you know, and then they portray the Chris Hemsworth character, who is her partner, as this really clumsy and inept, you know, dude, and then that chemistry between them is terrible.
You mentioned Chris Hemsworth seeming very inept, and I was really taken aback by that in this movie, because you're right, he kind of was. And I wonder if some of that might be because they were really pushing, okay, so feminism was alive and well in this movie.
Right.
And not just because he had a female lead, there were some other things, but I kind of felt like...
Well, you have several female characters, right, and important roles in the movie, but the problem, I think, is the writing, ultimately.
Yeah.
They create this Tessa Thompson character in a very wooden and plasticky manner. There's no characterization to her.
They had I mean, the idea behind her as far as being this nosy, geeky, obsessive girl was a great idea. And
it was, but they didn't really explore the different dimensions to who she was.
Exactly. It was very plot driven.
Yeah.
Right? The characters kind of took a back seat.
And then Chris Hemsworth is absolutely ridiculous, and then there's an attempt somewhere in the film to make him have some redeeming qualities, but that didn't work for me, really. It really bothered me, you know, and I was talking to my brother earlier about, you know, what he thought the issue was with these characters, and he brought up an excellent point, which is that Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith are just better actors, you know.
But there was also better writing.
There was also better writing, but they're better actors, I think, and you cannot match. This doesn't even come close to matching the silliness of Will Smith. You know, Will Smith was silly, but he was still useful as a character, you know, and he did cool things in the movie. Whereas Chris Hemsworth is utterly useless, you know, and Tommy Lee Jones was cool as like his mentor, and they had that cool camaraderie going on, great chemistry.
Absolutely.
That does not exist in this movie.
Yeah, you made a point that this was kind of like they had some romancing the stone moments.
Yeah, maybe. Like there's a scene where they end up like together alone, and there's like this silly banter back and forth between them, like Michael Douglas
very obvious,
in Romancing the Stone, and it reminded me of that. Felt very forced, very silly. I didn't like this movie. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and it doesn't help also that a lot of the dots were connected rather quickly in this movie, and they had a plot twist, which I thought they did something interesting with it toward the end, but it loses some luster on that twist because of a corny climax. What? Okay, are you thinking the twist was predictable, I guess?
Yes, very.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, involving the so-called traitor, and that's all I will say.
But I thought that they plugged a twist into that twist.
I will say this about
that makes any sense.
I will say this about the villains in this movie. There are several, but there are these like twins, I guess you can call them. Again, there's nothing that you know about them. They have no personality whatsoever. They just kind of walk around, you know.
Right.
The special effects involving them was cool, though.
I thought it was very cool. And the CGI.
We commented on that, right?
Some positives, right?
Yeah, we were like, yeah, those are some cool special effects. Kind of had some, like, you know, Dark Phoenix vibe special effects going on there.
So that was good.
That was good, I guess. I mean, honestly, the only thing... Okay, there were a couple of things I liked about this movie. Number one was the little alien character voiced by Nanjiani called Pawnee. I mean, thank God for this little creature existing in this movie because he brought some much needed comic relief, I think, and just some cool heroic acts, you know, that were needed. You know, you always get a kick out of small characters doing something like really brave and outstanding. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and that's something that you see a lot in these MIB movies. I mean, make no mistake. I mean, yeah, we're bashing it, you know, to an extent, but this movie did have some of that MIB, you know, camp humor, the action sequences, and some of that world building too. So this wasn't a terrible movie in my eyes.
It was pretty terrible.
So like we said, the writing really brought this movie down, especially by diminishing Chris Hemsworth's character, and in my opinion, because they wanted to elevate Tessa Thompson's character. You can still have a strong female protagonist without doing that to one of the stars of your movie.
Both were so poorly developed, you know?
Yeah, I really thought that Liam Neeson should have been in there more. Again, just so many missed opportunities. And for that, I'm going to give this movie 3 reels out of 5.
Oh my God, Lenny, you've got to be kidding me, man.
You've got to be kidding me.
You've got to be kidding me,
3 reels?
3 reels? The same as Dark Phoenix and Godzilla.
Although those are all kind of bad.
No, dude, this is
even worse.
I'm being generous when I'm giving this movie 2 reels. I am giving this movie 2 reels.
I think you're comparing it too much to the originals. Too much.
I am so this is. So,
you didn't laugh. Oh, that's right. You didn't laugh much in the theater.
I am inflating that score, man.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I will never watch this movie again. I don't think it's worth watching in the theaters. Don't bother to pay to watch this movie. In fact, I think it's going to
I do agree with you on that.
I think it's going to be box office poison, really. I think it's going to do terrible. I don't think there will ever be another Men in Black movie. I don't know. I'd be surprised.
And I think we've said way too much about this movie, guys. Let us know in the comments below whether you think we're off our noggins or whether you completely agree with us, which I kind of hope.
You will agree with us.
Yeah.
This movie's terrible.
Find us on social media, on Facebook at Real Screeners and on Instagram at real.screeners. And guys, as always, hey, hit up that Alamo Draft House.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell button if you enjoy our reviews, and we hope to see you soon again for some more real takes on movies.
That's why I stopped, because I was like...
Okay, I have to focus on the pronunciation of the words is what I need to focus on.
And this film...
Oh my God.
Becky, look...
You got an MIB. Once upon a time in the West, man lost his damn hat in the West. He never had nothing less.
So ultimately, what do I think about this movie?
What do you think about this movie, Lenny? Tell me.
Okay.
What do you think? Men in Black Internet. That's too much. That's too much. Energy!